Hi guys, so today I'll be telling you about the boot processing of a computer. So what is a boot processing? Boot processing is nothing but when you turn on your computer and it just the computer process once you power on your computer till the point where you see the windows or the home screen in your computer. So what happens in between all of those things is what is known as a booting process of a computer. So how it starts is, so once you power on your computer, so then you'll be like you're able to see the window screen, but in between of that there's a long list of processes that takes place. So start from that. Once you power on the computer, there is a BIOS chip. Now what is a BIOS chip? A BIOS chip is something looks like this, and what is it is ba BIOS. So what it is basic input output system. It stands for basic output and system. So what it means is it is the link between your computer's hardware and the operating system software. So what does it mean is what it helps is it is a kind of a chip which have all those programs pre-written in it and the instructions written in it to perform the task. So once you start the computer, the first thing that is start is the BIOS chip. Now also it is backed by a CMOS battery. CMOS battery. So what is a CMOS battery? It is nothing but a battery that is attached to your motherboard, which is always charged even if your computer is like in a turn off stage or power off stage, the CMOS battery will always be charged. So that is what CMOS battery the back the BIOS chip. Now, what does the first step? Now, first step that BIOS is charged. Now, what does it do? It performs a check, post check. Now, what it means is power on self test. Self test. What does it mean? It means that it performs few tests to check all the, just like I told you, it is a link between the hardware of your computers and the software. So it performs check on all the hardwares of your computers so that all of those are working in your computer. Supposedly you have your battery, supposedly you have your keyboard, you have your mouse and other things that are attached to your computer. So it firstly turns on, then on performs a self test on that, so that supposedly you'll, how will you know that this is happening? So once you turn on your laptop or anything, so if you have a light on your keyboard, you see that there's this light turned on and then it gets turned off. So that is what a self tested. So it checks everything. It checks the keyboard, it checks the trackpad of your laptop if it's a laptop, it checks the mouse, it checks the RAM, memory, main memory, and everything it checks. So after everything is checked and this test is completed, the next step what it does is it's find a bootloader. Now what is a bootloader? A bootloader is also set of programs executed. So what it does is the bootloader, it so you firstly you see there is a partitions in your computer like C drive, D drive, E drive, F drive. So all those partitions are done by you. Now all those partitions, the computer store that information somewhere. So the all those informations about your partitions and everything are stored in a MBR, master back record, or master boot record. So that master boot record is nothing but a information, set of informations about your partitions. So in the first block of the MBR is where the bootloader is usually present. Now the BIOS find the bootloader. Bootloader is nothing but a set of instructions. Bootloader is set of programs, I'll say, programs written. Okay. Now once the BIOS find the bootloader, now right now the all the control was in the hand of BIOS. It checks everything and everything. Now the control is being given to the bootloader. Is given to bootloader. Now what bootloader does? Now bootloader is also a program just like I told you. So bootloader just performs few things that before your computer gets really started. So the first thing that he does is he transfer your he like there's this operating system in it like Windows and everything. So it gives or it transfers or sends the operating system to the main memory, that is the RAM. So he what the bootloader is done is in first step it sends your operating system to the main memory. Now, once this process is done, once your operating system has been sent to your main memory, then there is a kernel. Now, what is a kernel? Kernel is nothing but a core component, I'll say, of OS. Now, the OS has this core component or the main component, I'll say, which is known as kernel. Now, what this kernel does is, now the kernel uh, performs few tasks on your computer. Let's say that now the operating system is being sent to the main memory, which is RAM. Now the role of kernel comes into play. Now before your Windows actually start, all the necessary core, like all the let's say you have your drivers and like hardware, you have your all the drivers which are necessary in your computer to be there, like the volume, network interface card, like the Wi-Fi card which you call it, and the other drivers, volume control drivers and everything that has to be sent to the Windows or the system or in the memory. So the kernel performs few tasks. So the kernel will perform few tasks. Now what are those tasks are? Now, once this is done, the kernel performs few tasks. The first task among that would be the kernel configure the files into your main memory main memory. Now, what are these files? These are the important files, which are like the files that are necessary in your Windows system, or the files which are required to turn on your Windows are those files which the kernel sent. There are few files, and then after these files have been sent to the main memory, it sends the required driver where it sends to the main memory. Now all those things have been sent to the main memory or your system. Now all these drivers are installed in your system. Now everything that is required, once you see your home screen, all the things that are there are sent by the kernel or the operating system core component. Now all these things the drivers are sent. Now the third step is, supposedly you have your password in your computer, like username or password. Supposedly you have your name password as Pratyaksh 123 Now you cannot enter in your Windows screen before writing that password. So there's this uh, user configuration step, what we call it as user configuration steps. Now, what these steps do is, these are like the optional steps. If you have your password, if you don't have your password supposedly, then after this step, your Windows or the home screen or the laptop gets started. Laptops get started. Gets started. If you have your password in it, then it shows your screen where you have to enter your password, and then your laptop or the Windows gets started finally. Windows gets started. So these are the steps that are uh, all these steps together are completed, and then it is known as a booting process in a computer. So once all these tasks that I just told you are the essential steps before your computer is started. So all these steps or all these functions take place, and then your computer gets started. So this is our what the things happen inside a computer once you power on your computer. So also this is the booting process. There is it is also of two types, like the cold boot or the warm boot. So what it means is, once you start your computer from the start, like you power on your computer and the computer starts from the scratch, then it's known as cold boot from the start. From the start. Now, once you are in the computer and you restart your computer, the booting process starts again from but the computer doesn't get shut down. So that is what restarting of your computer is known as warm boot. Restarting of your, so these are the steps that are the steps which together called as a booting process of a computer. So all these steps take place inside the computer, inside your laptop or inside your desktop anything. So yeah, these are what a booting process known as.